What up? What's up? What's up? Big shout out to everybody out there in the Shark Tank. Big shout out to all my people on the back straight. Y'all know what time it is. It's Talk Shit Tuesday. What up, everybody? Again, sorry for the inconvenience. What up, everybody? Oh, shoot. Again, sorry for you know, when you get to rushing and shit, all kind of shit just be like wanting to mess. So I had to come in and down. Internet just dropped. So I had to reboot the whole entire router. But I got so much shit going on in here, so you have to forgive me. But look, guess what? Oh my gosh. Did I do that? I hope I didn't do that. But look, y'all know it's Tuesday. And y'all know we talk shit on Tuesdays. Tonight's show, you know, is gonna be something I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time, because you know he always was, for me anyway, it was always like people always thought he was always talking shit on Jocko. But see, old man Chavis, for us, he was the key to why we did some of the things that we did. It wasn't really about Jocko. It was about old man FLETCHER Chavis. The man, you know, the man had, I guess all of us as dog men, you know, we just went over the Victor thing and, you know, same thing, Mr. Chavis, you know, all of us have been through that thing where we're trying to find our way. The thing about Mr. Chavis, though, he was more like an innovator. You know, when I say that, you know, after you spend a lot of time, so many years doing this, you got to, you know, you kind of got a certain type of relationship based on your knowledge when it comes to the American Pit Bull Terrier. And old man Chavis just had that, I would say that knack of knowing. Now, true enough, him and old man Carl Cruz, you know, they was running buddies. So you got a lot of, you know, collaboration between two great minds when it came to these dogs. You know, and it's just a wonder that they had enough to, first of all, make the breeding that created Jocko. You know what I'm saying? Which leads us back to, okay, if you know anything about Jocko, Jocko was a back-end dog. One of the best. Now, one thing that we kind of got out of that whole situation, because remember, we always was lucky to get back-end dogs, but at what point, you know, in our breeding program, did that back-end trait, you know, come from? To me, I mean, when I say come from, I'm talking about a trait that was literally passed down through our breeding program, because there was no other way we would have got the consistency when you're dealing with traits. You know, if it don't be for, I'm just, you know, that Jocko. You know, we always thought of, you know, always thought of it, you know, on the Jeep end, but Jeep dogs didn't throw back end dogs like that. And I don't remember, but I remember Termite was off of Jocko. But no more probably would know. But I never knew Termite to be a back end dog. I might be wrong, but you know, the consistency of all the dogs that we were breeding that had anything to do with that, with Amber. Most of our line came down off Amber. And it's just amazing how, you know, with all that Red Boy in her, she still got that Yellow John. Them Red Boy dogs, you know, they were always known to, touch the test of time. But one thing they had going for them, they had at least the ability. One second, brothers. Okay, one thing they did have, they had a, ability and that going power. But thinking about them, Jocko, he bought the athleticism, and he bought, that killing trait, that back end specialist. And when you really looked at Amber, because remember, Amber, she was what we call a Red Boy dog. But if you look at her, when we talk about her, she had a whole lot of the Red Boy trait in her. Always straight ahead, everything going, but I would say she lacked the ability to create any damage. Now, I'm not saying she didn't have a mouth. When I say lack ability, I like a dog that had ability, because regardless of how you came, they stuck to this one way of thinking, just give up the back end without some type of work. But when you're dealing with a line of dogs that know how to set you up to get back there, they'll work a leg here and there, and then they'll root you up in the chest, and they'll keep picking their points. But then all of a sudden, you see the move. They set it up, do the jack move, and then straight off give up a chest just to go back in there deep. And when they get back there, it's like happy birthday. You get that crazy old shake. Oh, I'm back here now. Oh, I'm back in here now. They just all happy, and all destruction starts. That was something that I always felt like that's a trait. And for me, it's almost like when you got a trait like that, and we always try to find different ways of where it come from. That's why Mo always was like, we got to make sure we got the Zebo. Always stuck to the Red Boy, Jocko shit. But everything else that we were throwing in, trying to work with it after that, we were basically watching what other people were already doing. And Mo just felt like, he didn't ever really give, Jocko, well, actually, I'm not even going to say Jocko, Mr. Chavis, because I think Mr. Chavis is another one of Mo's, one of his, Mo was like a secret admirer of Mr. Chavis. Because as he goes, I can't tell over here, like it was never missing. See, look at it. All right, fellas, I'm back. I guess I'm back. I don't know what the heck's going on over there, but I don't know what in the world was going on. But check this out here. Let me get back to my story right quick. It's still moving, right? So I'm in there. Let me see here. I went to. I'll do it this way. Hot ribbons. Okay, here we go. I hope I got this big enough where y'all can see this. See if I can make it bigger, blow it up a little bit. Where is my zoom? There we go. There we go. Hopefully this make it a little bit better for y'all to read along with me, because I don't like doing a bunch of reading. Okay. In the late 70s, early 80s, Mr. FLETCHER CHAVIS bred some dogs that any fancier would be proud to own. Much of his original stock comes from the old dog Yellow John ROM. And for years, Mr. Chavis campaigned with those inbred Redboy dogs that he got from RT Bass. He was considered one of the best. In the mid-70s, an outstanding discovery was made. Mr. Vernon Jackson had a dog that he produced from down Mayfield that he called Hank. He was inbred Mayfield Lightning 2 blood. Hank didn't start till he was 3 years old, but when he did, he not only turned out to be a phenomenal performer, but an exceptional producer as well. He was bred to a bitch B-Rats called Queenie, and from that litter came Champion Jocko, Champion Argo, Pearl, and a few other good ones. Mr. Chavis ended up with Jocko, and that was the beginning of the famous Redboy Jocko line. Mr. Chavis campaigned with Jocko, and he looked to be unbeatable due to the inherited trait of Hank's back-end style. So, as we see, Hank had the back-end style. Now, did we catch some of that trait? Because we know that trait went a long way for us. I mean, a lot of generations for us. But, just to keep, I bring that up because think about how many dogs that we talk about and how many dogs had that back-end style, and how were we able to keep that trait for so many years and through so many breeding programs. It was amazing. Jocko became a champion and was retired as stud. He was bred to his sister Apple/Pearl to get 2 good producing bitches named Green Sandy and Green's Coffee. Those 2 bitches were bred into winning hard-mouthed triple bred Bass Tramp Red Boy dog named Champion Yellow John ROM. Out of the coffee litter came Supernat's Boots, who won in 4 hours and 52 minutes. Out of the Sandy litter came Grand Champion John Boy, STP's Champion Toro, STP's Champion Tyson, Chavis Cleopatra, Chavis Deadly, and Green's Hitman. Chavis also had a bitch named Champion Lady Sassy Mead. Y'all know we love that Lady Sassy Mead over here. 4-time winner. Half Red Boy, half Lonzo breeding. She was also bred to Jocko. Out of that litter came Chavis Dangerous Dan, Thor, Margaret, and Lady Rose. Dangerous Dan was bred to a bitch named Steen's Delilah, who was out of the above Margaret when she was bred to a 2-time winner named Bucky, Jocko/Red Boy bitch, to get Carolina Kennels Champion Termite. Champion Termite, when bred to Midland's Outlaw bitch, made Grand Champion Cyrus. Chavis Lady Rose was bred to Jocko to get Chavis Flipper, Chavis Susie, and a 2-time winning bitch named Miss Jocko. Susie was bred to Red Boy, Bass Tramp Red Boy to get Chavis Red Lady. Red Lady was bred back to Flipper to get Chavis Champion Rojo. Miss Jocko was bred to Champion Yellow John, and out of that breeding came STP's Champion Sassy. I would think that was Grand Champion Gainey Jr., 5-time winner, and Tant's Grand Champion Yellow ROM. Let me see. I think I got this here. There have been so many breedings done with Red Boy Jocko that it gets a bit confusing. I think the most influential dog of all the Red Boy Jocko dogs has to be Grand Champion Yellow, because all the champions he produced with bitches of all other bloodlines and his own. Grand Champion Yellow also produced bitches that produced, as well as he did. Special mention, Grand Champion Yellow was bred to a lineage sister Champion Sassy to produce Tance AAA, who is producing male and females of the utmost performance quality. After Grand Champion Yellow won his first match, Carl Cruz took an interest in him when he talked to his partner about, he said, "I don't like the dog. He scratches too slow." But after Carl put a bug in his ear for a while, Tan gave in and each man gave up $400 apiece. So Grand Champion Yellow was bought for $800. Yellow stayed on Tan's yard most of the time because Carl carried a little more attention than Tan. Yellow won his first at 14 months old, in which make his date of birth approximately September of '83. He became a champion at the age of 2 and a grand champion at the age of 3. Yellow was placed on the ROM list in '93 with 5 ROM points. The following came from the Sporting Dog Journal of Champions, Volume 2. A 6-time winner, many dogs men thought Yellow would be easy to whip since he only puts out enough energy to win. Whatever the other dog had put out, Yellow just stayed out in front. He won in a short time of 30 minutes and a marathon time of 2 hours and 37 minutes. Always just enough to win. Grand Champion Yellow was bred to a triple bred Jocko bitch named Gladys. Out of that litter came Tance Gladys D, Tance Lulu, Tance DC, Powerhouse Kennels Sandman, Chavis Big John, and Havana Boys Grand Champion Rodney. Grand Champion Rodney was then bred to a pure Tramp Red Boy bitch named Marlowe's Penny. Out of that litter came Marlowe's Grumpy. Tance Reedy was bred back to Chavis Champion Rojo from above to get Tance Goldie. Goldie was bred back to Grand Champion Yellow to get Stone City Kennels Awesome Baby. Awesome Baby was bred to a winning pure Bolio Tombstone dog named STP's Grand Champion Buck, 7-time winner, to start the beginning of another phenomenal cross. This cross made Grand Champion Yellow Buck champion Miss Piggy. Awesome Baby also sired Grand Champion Luger when bred to Fargo Dog. When bred to a STP's Jedi Grand Champion Buck, STP Sassy, she whelped Stone City Kennels Champion Nico, ROM 4-time winner, 1-time loser, and Dixie, a 2-time winner, 1-time loser at 2 hours and 40 minutes. Mr. Mark bred an old low posse bitch named Red Lady to double bred champion Jocko male named Chris Guaracho. Out of that breeding came a gem named Mark Newland, who was bred to a producing double bred Bass Tramp Red Boy dog named Miller's Red Man. Out of this breeding came a bitch named Collins Red Alert. Red Alert was bred to above STP's champion Toro to get Onello's Sherman the Tank and Onello's Twisted Sister. These two dogs were then bred together to get Goodson's Little Man, Onello's Spook, and Ratliff's Daisy May was bred to Grand Champion Buck RM to get Ratliff's Champion Buckus, RM 4-time winner, 1-time loser. And the Undertaker's Kennels Miss Leaky, ROM. This is a phenomenal cross. Champion Buckus used off the chain as a substitute dog in his loss. He was bred to Miss Leaky, ROM, to get Super Kennels Champion 357. Daisy May was also bred to a scatterbred Jeep Patrick Zebo named Bobby Jack to get Champion Thunder and Champion Terry. So, just to give y'all a little insight of how that stuff worked back there in the day. Now, y'all seen a whole lot of familiar names. You know, a lot of familiar names. Now you think about it. We talk about early 80s. And then when you start throwing Stone City up in there, and then you throwing 357 up in there, man, that's almost from STP. Man, that's over almost 10, 15 years of runtime. Because for us, it carried us through the 90s and the early 2000s. You know, and that's why a lot of these dogs are so familiar, you know, when you're even talking about Nico and Termite and Lady Sassy Me. Remember, we always talk about these dogs because, first of all, they had a big influence on what we had going on our yard. Other thing was, if you notice what they was doing, and you think about what Stone City Kennels was doing. Think about what Victor and Stone City couldn't get along, but when Mo did it, Mo wasn't doing nothing but almost reproducing something that they had already done earlier. Because I already told you, Mo was deep. Him and our kennel partner, they was deep into, you know, that Redboy Jocko thing. Especially for Mo, because Mo loved the back end situation. And he always tried to keep that part. That's why you never seen him take chances without the Zebo. He always had to have the buck. You always see him when he talk about that Lady Sassy Me. Y'all see that Lady Sassy Me? Because these things are things that I know, and that's why I wanted to read all this story, because this is where his way of thinking was coming from. It's not something he made up. You know, that's why we talk about learning the history, understanding the traits, know what you're looking for. Because even though I didn't get into a lot of their conversations, but I would hear them say something, I would be the one going through the journals, and I would read the stories, and like I do now. Because I when he wants to talk about something, I refresh my memory, because I know I've ran across stories, and I know that these are dogs that we knew back in the day when we were, you know, when them dogs were still alive. They were still around. You know, we was like kids in the cookie jar, you know what I'm saying, trying to get out there in the journal and trying to find and get their hands on these things. So this was the process. And I think Mo can get into it a lot better than I can, because he, you know, him and the KP, you know, they already told you they were going after Ozzy, but then when Ozzy didn't answer the phone, they wound up over here. Well, gotta also remember, they done bred the Termite. You already know how he felt about that. The Mayday shit just fell in, but it wasn't like, you know, they was breeding it to Angel's Apache anyway. So Mayday was just another one of the, you know, we caught that early. But look what Stone City was doing. You know, if you just go back and read some of the stories, Stone City had bulldogs way back in the day. People used to talk shit about them dogs in Puerto Rico. But let me tell you something, man. You know, there's a lot of people who went over there and who was getting their asses handed to them if you wanted to make the trip. Because, you know, there's... Victor went over there and got his ass whooped a couple times. You know what I'm saying? We went over there and got our ass whooped. But what we got out of it was being somewhere and saying, okay, why did they say these dogs here is garbage? Because a year later, after we left from over there, I think Jesse moved right there to Orlando. And then that's when him and Mo hooked up, and that was just a whole new story of bulldogging. But the boys also had a plan. And that plan worked to the, you know, to their best, because most of the time I never really was expecting them to leave Puerto Rico, but guess what? They did. And like traveling, you know, that's how, you know, kind of want to blame the Nico loss on the traveling situation because it was something that everybody didn't do. You know, and if we had teachers like now I read stories like we did all that running and then ran into Puerto Rico and ended up doing things in less than 12, 13 hours. But look at all the things that we missed out on. The things that we didn't know how to travel. We know how to travel in the States. But when you traveling out of the States, it's not like the same. That, you know, we jumping in the car, we drive to somewhere and be there a whole 1 or 2 days early because we got people or we trying to enjoy the cookouts and all the entertainment, enjoy the place where we at. But traveling, you know, over there was just a little, and I think we stayed a whole week there. We just didn't come back home, but because it was just one of them beautiful, beautiful trip. Wish we had got there earlier instead of that last minute situation, but being that we had got there and having such a nice time, we stayed longer. But it did change our way of how we traveled from that day forth. Because we never went back out of the country. But one thing, and that's another thing, that whole week that was there, went over to the DR, and I don't even understand where people got that thought that them boys over there didn't have no bulldogs. I mean, I seen some bulldogs that I was wondering, why do people say that they ain't got no dogs over here? I mean, I liked the Tommy boy. I'm telling you, I liked it her. Because even to this day, because it's not the fact that she was just a grand champion, it's the fact that she was a game grand champion. You know, that her grand champion scratch was just, to me, just showed just what kind of bulldog she was. Because the dog she went into, she wasn't beating up on that dog in no 30 minutes. Remember, she had never made it to 30. But the fact is, I seen her as a down dog. And she was from the DR. And that bulldog, to this day, still has made one of the most phenomenal scratches I've ever seen in my many years of dealing with these dogs. Never seen nothing else like that before. So, big shout out to all my people over in the PR and the DR. And I guess based on, you know, what I seen, and then when they do come to the States, they changed a lot of people's minds. You know, they got up off of that. But again, got to remember the times now. Because now you got the Havana boys, you got the Black Ice, you know, all of them. They remember, everybody's been to the house. You know, everybody got to come to the yard. But that was just the beginning of a whole new outlook and a whole new relationship for us. But think about the fact that where we starting at. We're going back to FLETCHER Chavis. We're going to take a deeper look into Redboy Jocko. Mo, why do you always say Jocko couldn't maintain? Well, we already know how Redboy was bred, but can we say that about Jocko? But one thing I can truly say about the Jocko that he probably don't say as much as I be feeling, Jocko in his time was a phenomenal back-end dog, y'all. I mean, the best of the best from what, you know, my understanding. But think about it. How strong was that trait that it carried into that Redboy, which Redboy dogs weren't known to be back-end dogs? Then why did we catch it? What was it about Amber? I'm going to tell you what it was for me. I'm going to show you what it was. I'm going to turn this over to Mo. But I like to do this because, you know, when I see certain things, that happened to wake me up, just in case he don't bring it up. I'll show you right here where she go. I'll bring her up here in a minute. Let me find her. This girl right here, Amber. Look at this dog, man. Look at Amber. How much yellow can you get? Look at all that yellow, John, man. Now, true enough, I don't think it was luck that got Amber, because again, Moab told y'all how we wound up with her. But imagine getting your hands on a phenomenal dog. You notice she just didn't have that, you couldn't tell her, well, that one red boy trait, you couldn't tell her she was not losing. When she was losing. But she didn't, you couldn't tell. And then you see that, there go that little that Lady Sassy Mead he always be screaming about. But I always went back to her pedigree, because really, fellas, this right here, this dog right here, was what changed our whole yard. Her. And considering, all the other dogs we had on the yard. But this is why I think he wanted to talk about the Jocko situation. Because that move right here, y'all notice that. See that Miss Jocko right there? Everywhere you see him at, right? And we got him down here. Where's she at? Is she down here somewhere? Yeah, right there. Double bred Jocko dogs on that bottom right there, y'all. So you think about, y'all be talking about Red Boy Jocko. This is what that shit be looking like back in our time. When you had it like that. Now, I have no idea, what, if other people were paying attention like we was, but I'm pretty sure they was, because if you pay attention, you'll notice Stone City basically was doing it prior to us doing it. But for us, I'm just saying, if you just look how Amber was bred. And just remember, everything that we did moving forward that included this bitch right here changed our whole entire yard. But I'm going to let Mo get back into that. I'm going to let Mo take over this right quick. But while I'm doing, before I let him get in here, let me get my shout outs to my peeps out there right quick. Big shout out to my man Melee in the house. What up, fam? Big shout out to the one and only, the incomparable Mr. Dickie Foster. I see you, fam. The Big Hill fam in the house. What up, fam? Big shout out to my man Mr. Jeffrey Carter. I see you, fam. Yo, where you been? Ike and Royal family in the house. What up, fam? Nice to see you back, fam. Ain't seen you in a while. Pit Dog. My Marine Corps brother, Simplified. What up, fam? Big shout out to my man representing the D. Chico Nicholas in the house. What up, fam? Yo, big shout out to the Mad Doctor. What up, fam? Let me see. The Rabbit Man. What up, man? Nation's best Kennels in the house. What up, fam? Twan Raw. What up, fam? 517 SEK, what up, fam? Hard Fitness Kennels in the house representing. What up, fam? Let me see that. Get everybody. SFK Fred, what up, fam? Big shout out to my man. The bite down and shake that like button. One and only Mr. Double M Desbo in the house. What up, fam? In the wood. I see you, fam. Union County representing in the Shark Tank. What up, fam? Bloodthirst #1, a.k.a. Havoc 360 in the house. What up, fam? My man, my brother Eli Monster. What up, fam? Yo, my man Skip Bill. I see you, fam. Let me see as I go down the list here. The Insane Honey Badger. Yo, what up, fam? Let me see. My man, the one and only Mr. James Jones in the house. What up, fam? Yo, Marquise B. What up, fam? Vendetta, the Vendetta in the house. What up, fam? RBG Lone Wolf in the house. What up, fam? Representing Shreveport 318, Shreveport Mike in the house. What up, fam? I think that's everybody. I got the ones. Big Hill. Miss you today, fam. Let me see. The Stoic Dog Man. What up, fam? Yo, Melee! What up, fam? The one and only Mr. Burning Star in the house. What happened? What's up, fam? The Game Breaker! I see you, fam. Hey, man, again, appreciate everybody for showing up tonight for this Talk Shit Tuesday. Hey, don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't already done so. To all my people out there in the back street, want you to know I see you. If you ain't already hit that subscribe button, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit that like button, go ahead and hit that like button. And look, fellas, as you know, I don't have a tick across the bottom because I'm really fixing to revamp everything going on over here. But for right now, Super Chat's still available. And I will be watching the chat. So anytime anybody want to either call in, just hit me up and I can just put your number out there. Or you ask your question, don't cost you nothing, we'll address it. Because I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with the Red Boy Jocko stuff. But I wanted to take y'all back to where it made sense. Why I feel like the stuff back there closer in our time is what made, the future of these dogs moving forward. Because there was a whole lot going on in that little time period right there. Look at all the dogs that they was breeding, man. I just named a couple of them in the story, but if you ever just go back and you just want to get some of them dogs' names and then do what I did. Go and look at each one of the dogs based on that first the Jocko, then you do the same thing with the Red Boy, and then you do Red Boy Jocko. Two independent lines that really stood on themselves, but were better when they came together. As individual lines, they were still good lines. But it was nothing compared to when they brought them together. And, we got enough history out there to prove that point. My thing is, it's not like I'm stabbing my brother in the back, but, my bro will always be telling me, Mike, you need to get up off that Jocko thing because, that Jocko shit couldn't stand on his own. Because I don't think he liked the termite dog at all. He liked him, but he didn't like him. I don't know why. Maybe because we didn't get what we was expecting to get, because how much more Jocko could you get than termite? And he was a champion. And he was really disappointed about that breeding. But, again, only time tells. And the thing is, we happened to live that time. You know how people blame it. Well, maybe that's the dog. It was the breeder. Well, no, not in this case. No, I don't let that one get away on that situation because we've had a whole lot of dogs and didn't treat them dogs any different. Even though we did get, but we didn't get what we was expecting. We was thinking we got all this nice ass yellow shit. You remember we still got Pretty Mama on the yard on top of this Amber dog. Think about that. You got Pretty Mama and Amber, and we know Pretty Mama was Red Boy. Ain't no Red Boy Jocko shit. That's Red Boy at his finest. So all these things was going on that they were playing with. I want you guys to take that ride as he talks about it because see, one thing he never let me get away from is the Jocko part. Because he always felt better that Red Boy needed that Jocko. And the only thing that I think that could have possibly been because he was so happy that we got those back-end dogs. That, guess what? We kept getting back-end dogs, and he had to give it up and accept the fact that came from Jocko. I don't know why we got the trait and don't nobody else have it. I mean, that part I couldn't see. I mean, he talks so much about Red Ace, but I believe that about Red. I can't tell you. Well, yeah, I can because just look where she come from. Red Ace was a badass, back end, hard biting. She just had a nasty mouth. And you really didn't hear, Jocko dogs had good mouths, but they wasn't that nasty as like her. But then again, I think Hank, remember them dogs, them Jocko dogs got that back end from Hank. Because remember, that's still a trait that was passed down to Jocko. The Jocko actually literally passed down to us. And that trait is just something that made me a believer because, people can talk about it, but when you have evidence to prove it, but Grand Champion Ace was a back end dog, but that thing, to me, that wasn't no Jeep shit. Charlie was supposed to be Jeep's little made brother, and through all the years after the fact, never heard nothing else come out from over there that was a back end specialist. Nothing. So I kind of give him that as far as he always be throwing at Charlie because that's what's on the paper, but I still look at Zebo. I thought I just heard you say that Grand Champion Ace. I know he was a back end dog, but they say he was off of Charlie. No, that part. Never ever fell for that Charlie shit because we had the results of the litter. We got a whole bunch of back end specialists over here, and Charlie wasn't. And that Jeep shit is they're not back end specialists. So, did we bring it with us? Or did that Angus might have something to do with it to just help make that little situation click and made it a little bit tighter, where it became that continuous trait, regardless of how we were breeding and what we were breeding our dogs to, we still were coming out. But you could look at it going hard yard. All the dogs were damn near looked the same colors, looked the same ways, red nose, yellow eyes, a couple black faces, but when you go through that many dogs, I like to share with you guys to say, hey, look, through experience and hands-on, 95% of the yard looked at the same. And even out of that, when you're taking the best of the best and you're putting it against each other and then you're weeding it out, when it's all said and done, you still come out with high caliber, fast lane killers. But this gives you a good idea of where it started at, and look how many people was using it and how they were using it. And if you'll notice, many of the names that I was reading, they're all familiar. See, that camaraderie, it goes a long way when people don't see what you see, but, that's okay. All you got to do is believe in what you see and let the rest take its course. You know what I'm saying? Here, give me that. I'll take it. So you, Mo. What up, everybody? Talking about Jocko. With a story or his pedigree. This guy, click on it. So, what up, everybody? Yeah, today we talking about FLETCHER CHAVIS. Yeah. No, a lot of those dogs, going back to Amber, you see David Tant name in there one time. There. And there. So, yes, she did have yellow in her, too. You know, but FLETCHER CHAVIS, he was a dog man. When I say dog man, you know what I mean. He was a breeder that did his own dogs. He had Jocko and he had Redboy dogs. He built his yard off of Yellow John. That's why always when we had Amber, we called her a Redboy dog. Then all of a sudden, everybody started talking about Yellow John and his production. I think that started ringing right along when Yellow and Sassy was out there taking over. Yellow was going into a lot of his, Yellow was a South Carolina match dog. You just see 3 of his wins was by the same camp. So keep that thought in mind. They're going where the money's sweet. They're trying to get money back. And the whole time they're trying to get money back, they're just putting the wrong dog on Yellow. Yellow kind of remind me of Pretty Mama. Always did just enough to win. That's what she was. So if we just look at Yellow, we know that it was a Red Boy trait. Because I seen the same thing in Pretty Mama. We got Pretty Mama when she was 5 years old. And I ran her with bred. So she was a good example of a dog that I would think that she was like Yellow. If you come at her hard, she'll take you out quick. She just liked to fight. So she did just enough to win because that's what she liked to do. But the pedigree in itself, what I always admired about it was FLETCHER CHAVIS. Yeah, I was a FLETCHER CHAVIS fan. And I paid real close attention to what he was doing. Watched and studied what he did. And this is how he was getting competitive dogs. Everybody, look at this. We know all these are, at least these 2 dogs here, Monkey Dust and Sexy, are very well-known dogs in the yellow line. Okay? This was Amber's. Okay. Brian Bailey had Monkey Dust. Must have had a picture there or something, because it sure was a big old gap there. Same bottom. And like I was saying before, double bred Jocko. Old Klaus stuff. Look at old Klaus Zeke back in there.
Look at those Stabber Lee. I'm just taking y'all back in here deep, just to show you that real bottom side. You see the Klaus stuff? But look, what is you doing with Eli way back there? Bully son, way back there. Orphan Annie. Eli dogs. See, most people didn't know we go back that far. Me, I've been back here. Okay? Me, I've been back here. That's why I knew about the Klaus stuff. That's why I knew about the Eli stuff. And I always felt like me and my KP used to talk about it. We was not happy with the Hank. I mean the Jocko, because it really didn't have no strong producing, you know, not where we seen, because we knew about Red Lady and Molly B. Keep in mind, remember Judah was a double bred Molly B and Snooty cross. Molly B and Red Lady beat Apple and a daughter off of Apple. I told you this before. That's where they got them losses at. They lost to Molly B and Champion Red Lady, where she went on to lose for, I think, number 4 or 5. But this line of dogs right here, you know, when I say monkey dust, we know about the rifle dog with these rifle. They go Red 8. They go Clinton's Poncho. These are all known producing dogs. All known. Keeping in mind, these are litter mates to Amber's mother. So it's not like we wasn't sitting on a good producer. You know, the termite stuff did not work very well. And maybe it's because the good ones got stolen when they broke in my KP's house and stole the pups. You know, because they seemed to take the red ones and left that Brindle one. The Brindle one didn't work out. I'm always talking about mindset, right? I'm always talking about mindset. Now, for FLETCHER Chavis to get his hands on this dog, right here, what was he on? He had to really be on the Redboy stuff. He had to, and he is definitely a breeder. If you see how he's breeding, you already know this makes a lot of sense to FLETCHER Chavis. Just what was he hearing or what was he seeing? That would be the question for him to acquire this dog here. And not did he just acquiring, he won with him. He won with him. My man Vernon Starr said her sire, Wrangler, he would hit that stifle also, though, twin. Yes, he did. Greg Lester said he was a stifle dog. This Amber was a stifle dog. She just couldn't get back there the night she lost. It got picked up, but she was on a good dog. But yeah, Wrangler, yes, he... Remember that, what's that dog's name? Blasco or something? He was a Chavis dog. And he was a back end dog. Real rough. He was bred like these dogs right here. I think his name was Basco. But he was a yellow John dog and he was a back end dog. So it wasn't like the Redboy dogs wasn't producing some back end work. You know. I think a combination of, again, I look at things that work. And when you study this pedigree, like I broke it down, and you see the things that I see in it, I see where he was going with it, because you look at the way he's breeding. And that's why I admire Fletcher Chavis. That's why I admire Stone City. That's why I admire Hardcore Kennels, Windy City Kennels, STP, Ronnie Boys and his work. These guys had a science to their breedings that made their dogs famous. These are dog men who match their yard. And you got to admire the way they bred their yard. James Crenshaw, admire. Victor Acart, I admire. These guys right here, and we have a few more. We do have a few more. We can literally throw many good dog men out there who took the same aspect as us, but these ones that I'm naming, they really stood out. They really stood out. And they changed the game. Major factors in the game. Jeep changed the game. Okay? Yellow changed the game. Yellow John changed the game. Redboy changed the game. You know what I'm saying? Buck changed the game. But if you look closer into every one of those dogs I named, and I can even say Frisco, you will find these dogs lurking in every single kennel that I spoke of. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. Supernat Success, he didn't have many yellow dogs in his pedigree. He didn't have many red boy dogs in his pedigree. But he sure knew how to work that vicious Eli cross, especially using the Zebo into those dogs. The Angus, the art stuff. Remember he did have Boots. 4-hour, 52-minute dog. I'm pretty sure he would have loved to breed Boots if Boots had got down a little quicker. But he had him on the yard, and he liked him enough to match him. Now just imagine the dog that went 4 hours and 52 minutes with him. Fletcher Chavis was a smart breeder. And the reason why I got that pedigree up there is so as you continue, I want you to soak into it, because that is a hell of a pedigree, and he is a hell of a breeder. Give me a dog, man, whose names show up on the whole the whole pedigree that can do this right here. If it don't be for him, it wouldn't be a yellow. It wouldn't be for his breeding tenacity. It wouldn't even be a Mayday. It wouldn't be a yellow buck. It wouldn't be none of these dogs. Oh, bro, yellow buck is awesome, baby. And that plays a big part. The funny thing that I was tripping on was, has anybody ever went back here? Again, let me go back there one more time. Double bred Jocko. Again, this is still Fletcher Chavis shit. Double bred Jocko. You're going to see a little Buck in there. You see a little Eli in there. You know what I'm saying? They're them Klaus dogs. I always keep on saying Klaus line. The Fitzwater's Goldie. You see these dogs everywhere in all kind of different bloodlines. They definitely knew. These dudes definitely knew. They definitely knew what they was doing. And that's why, you know, I point this out and keep jumping back there, because that's what I call taking the pedigree from back there and start working your way up. And it just stopped there. Remember, that's just Amber's bottom. That's just her bottom. That's the top. See that Lady Sassy Mead in there again, don't you? So we have Lady Sassy Mead top and bottom, giving me a little bit of that Z-bolt. And I keep on saying, you put Grand Champion Ace on top of that. On top of that. I'm going to pull it up. You look at that pedigree there. Me, you put him down there with all that Lady Sassy Mead, filling in the gaps. Even if we wanted to consider Charlie, you know, I can go up there and pull up Angus, and let's go look at Angus right quick. This is what it say. Just so we can see how Angus was bred, so you guys can get a good look. Okay, they got him on the Super Nats Grand Champion Angus. All right, let's look at Angus. Steps Angus, STP Angus, Super Nats Angus. What do you see down there lurking? Not even what you see down there lurking. Look what's down there. See, what do you see? What I'll always be talking shit about. Watch that stabber. Watch that Klaus stabber. Gotta pay attention to that shit. Litter mate to who? See that pepper dog? Litter mate to who? Patrick's Tater. They don't be. I think they be missing that, Mo. You got this is what you need to do, Mo. Let them know what they've been missing, man. I'm trying to show them. And then we go over here. And what we dealing with? Diabo stuff. That's them crossing the Diabo stuff into the Klaus stuff. And we didn't seen all this. Right? We didn't seen all this. And then what we see? What did we see in that yellow stuff down there with Lady Sassy Mead and them? Huh? We saw that Eli. We saw Eli. Look at old Blind Billy. Old Scrub. I mean, look how heavy Blind Billy this dog is. See, they all had a little bit of something. You know what I'm saying? And if you pay close attention, it really proves to me these dudes were not just taking dogs and sticking them together. They was doing something. Well, that's why, yeah, this is why I seen more of Angus in Ace than I seen Charlie in Ace. You know what I'm saying? Seen a lot of that. And understand why he was such a dangerous and rough ass dog. Don't let the bitch in heat in his career get dampened based on what he was doing chasing a dog that he had been breeding to. Keep in mind that. Offspring. A lot of his offspring was coming off of Ruby. His winners were coming off of Ruby. You know what I'm saying? One of his better dogs, one of his best dogs, coming off of Ruby. What did you see? You see him crossing it. You know that Zebo, there you go, still in there. See, they knew what they was doing. They knew what they was doing. They was being smart on what they was doing. They was creating match dogs. And they wasn't just playing up here in the front. They was reaching in their pockets, digging back. Kobe's dying. The Hetrick stuff. The Hetrick dog back in there. Kobe back in there. A lot of it. This is what I call how you produce match dogs. Ace didn't do half as much. If you were to take Ace and add him to any one of them other dogs compared to what Supernat was getting when he was breeding Angus to Ruby, compared to breeding Charlie to Miss Woolly. You know, good line. Not a bunch of dogs that have a pedigree of 11 dogs, and you got a couple of these dogs being winners. So it's the fact that Angus was being bred to Ruby, and it would look like it was being done more frequently than not, because all these ain't the same litters. And I know that. He bred Angus to Ruby twice. Okay? So with Angus getting off the chain and getting beat up by Ruby wouldn't be surprising to me. Especially when you're talking about a dog that was being bred to the dog that he was running out there in the yard after. Right? And you see these same, remember I was pointing out those same dogs, you see the makeup on how they was doing the dogs. Hank. Look at Hank. Fitzwater's Goldie. You don't see the Dabo stuff. You see it? You see it. He knew what he was doing. They all knew what they was doing. See it? Look how good that dog is bred. They just ain't throwing shit together. The dudes are being real smart. One of the all-time best producers, he won at least 4. You know, he got champion, Jocko, Argo, Cold Cat, Tiger, Toby, Champion Apple. Most of the above shows were not reported in the STJ, But every dog man in the North and South Carolina and the Florida area can tell you about them. And that's the truth. You said North and South Carolina. That's right. But you see what you see those names. We can see these names. We're gonna see these names in Jeep, Yellow, Frisco, Buck, Honey Bunch, Awesome Baby, the top producing dogs of all times. And they all gonna have something in common. They all gonna have these type of dogs in their pedigree. Every single one of them. Give me some of that Stabber and then some of that Goldie, some of that Dime. You know, got that Zebo. Man, look, can't go wrong. Because they knew that. They knew that. It's like using salt and pepper at the right time for the right taste. You know what I'm saying? At the right time for the right taste. Now, if y'all understand what I'm saying when it comes to breeding, I think the reason why I was so intense on my breeding program, because I went way back there in the back. James Pope taught me about that part right there. But he really get in there and he really pointed out things that I was pointing out to you guys. How many of you guys knew that all them top producing dogs were related? All of them. I've been back there. I be studying so hard because I'm always looking at the mindset of the person with the female. Whether he got the male on the yard or he's going off the yard. He still is taking that female. What is the mindset to you? When this chick come in heat, what was making them do what they was doing? They just wasn't saying, I got a bitch in heat, you got anything I can breed her to? No, they wasn't doing that shit. You can count on that. Because I wasn't doing that shit. And you know why I wasn't doing that shit? Because I realized they wasn't doing that shit. I got into the mindset. I mean, my mindset of watching them, I was paying attention to watching what Stone City was doing. I was sitting back watching what Hardcore and them was doing. And by the way, I was paying attention to STP. Because STP was doing it in damn near every line that he was getting. He was reproducing some shit to play with. But they was doing, they had learned what was going on in the back, like I learned, paying attention to what they was doing and following on the way back, showing that they was doing something that was already being done. Every single one of them. Everybody needed that special spice. And every single one of them had it. Every single one of them. All of them had those dogs that I pointed out. Every single one of those great dogs got it in their pedigree. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Regardless of how you put it and how you twisted it, they was having high level bloodlines, consistent throughout history. Pay attention to that. That's what made them legendary, because their dogs are legendary. But did you really go back far enough to sit there and about it, did a poll and said, what did all these dogs have in common outside of being registered and married? Physical show wasn't no champions, so you couldn't say they all had champions in them. No, all of them had those particular pieces of ingredients that had them all related guarantee each other, every single one of them. So there's nobody doing a 50-50 shit, with nobody doing a little quarter this, little quarter. The point is, they was all related in some way, somehow. And it's just the way they was crossing it and the way they was working it. The ones who have figured it out, like FLETCHER CHAVIS, STP, Stone City, Hardcore, we can say these names because they all have famous dogs. And not only did they have famous dogs, dogs coming by way of their dog became famous dogs. I mean, I'm riding a coattail of some great dog men. And just by me riding a coattail, I don't mind putting my ass in on the tail end. Don't mind, not one bit. At all. Because I paid attention and I was doing what they was doing. And guess what? It was working for me too. So I can be a witness to speak on it. It worked. And the people who was riding can ride on, I can say, they probably don't feel no shame in saying I rode twins coattail. But all they did is paid attention to what I was doing because I was paying attention to what they were doing. We all hung somebody by the tail, getting drugged along, learning something. But every single one of us was doing something. Every single one of them. FLETCHER CHAVIS, STP, Hardcore Kennels, Stone City Kennels. You got to throw Victor on in there. You got to throw Windy City up in there. Got to throw Supernet up in there. You're going to end up hollering Golden Heart and Gameville and all the fellas behind me. Got to throw Jamie Long in there. I got to go throw Undertaker in there and Untouchables in there. I got to throw Super Kennels in there. No, these are all the names that I can sit there and tell you. These names that we've been going through tonight and hearing about tonight. We know these dogs. Ronnie Boyles, we know these people. Tommy Walker, we know all those guys. Mike Morgan, Boyles dogs. You want me to slap a Boyles dog up and show you some squirts? You're going to find Zeke in a lot of these dogs. Be surprised when you find old Stabber running around up in this stuff. Okay? These are factors, man, that you have to take in consideration. These dudes wasn't just breeding dogs. They wasn't paper driving because everybody I'm naming are matching their shit. You know what I'm saying? They ain't feeding a puppy farm. You know, hats off to FLETCHER CHAVIS. You know what I'm saying? Hats off to him. One dog I wanted to pull up, and I always pull him up when I talk about Amber, because I always felt like just going that way. Too bad I didn't get the puppies that I wanted. But this is the dog that we was breeding Amber to when we met Mayday. There go Monkey Dust. There go Yellow the Sassy. There go Monkey Dust, Yellow the Sassy again. Double Red Angels Apache. That's Apache Champion, Apache Jr. But you see the breeding? That's who we were breeding Amber to when we saw Mayday. And because that breeding didn't take is the reason why I got a chance to breed the Mayday free. didn't have to pay for the red ace breeding, nor did I have to pay for brat breeding, because she was Mayday's first champion, and the first champion off of Mayday, they got a chance to breed back to him. So Victor didn't charge me not one time to breed a Mayday. But you see the breed. I would have loved to have those puppies and still got a chance to breed the Mayday. It would have been nice, because I knew that they would have do something. I don't really think that when we came down to that conclusion of my boy taking that ride and making that run, the thing that he came to the conclusion is that he was going to create a line of Redboy dogs that was going to be the tightest that ever was, by breeding Amber and Apache together. You know, and every time you got a big dream, it don't really always fall through. And that one did not fall through. I mean, I took Amber to the vet and got her x-rayed, and she got big as hell, but she was x-rayed with a stomach full of nothing.
Johnny Rocket said twin was Mayday a back end dog?
No. He was no back end dog. I can tell you what he was. He was a destroyer. He had the pace. He was, to me, he was better than Yellow and Yellow John. Maybe because of the buck in him. The Eli, the stabber stuff. You know, all that Zeke and stabber shit. You notice those usually be where you get your killers at. You know, when you go looking at your killers and you're going to go back in there, you're going to find some old Klaus stabber, and you're going to find some Zeke. And the Boyle's dogs, the buck dogs, the yellow dogs. And you come on now, pay attention. That combo. That Lonzo stuff, you're going to always see Lonzo popping up around there. Why were they going to old Lonzo so much? Because Lonzo had killers. They was putting killers on top of these game-ass dogs. Why? Because these dudes who's doing that shit are matching their yard. Can y'all hear me? If you can understand what I'm saying and you agree with me, just throw a line of thumbs up over there at Mike for me. Because I don't want to get too far ahead of y'all. I'm running through these, but I don't want to get too far ahead of y'all. I want y'all to see and tell me y'all see what I'm talking about. We ain't looking at Amber's pedigree. We is looking at Apache's pedigree. Showing you that it worked because he took and he came back up there with this little cross right here. Now, why would they do that? You see what's up there? All bulldogs. Match dogs. There go Finley's bow. We already know all this stuff going. Eli dogs. Look at those Turtle Buster, heavy Turtle Buster. They should have stuck to the Turtle Busters doing it this way. You know, they should have really stuck with the Turtle Buster stuff. I just think they never really bred it right. You know what I'm saying? Because it faded out. And Kenny Gaines knew he was on a sinking ship. He knew he was on a sinking ship because it stopped working. It stopped working. To me, they didn't capitalize. They didn't really capitalize on kingfish. They got away from kingfish. You start throwing a bunch of other stuff, you're stabbing and grabbing, you know? Stabbing. Look. No, to me, this is red. This is old family red shit up here. You would think that you should have been, staying on the track that's working for you. You did it here. You know what I'm saying? They had it all working. But where did it phase out at? To me, they didn't bring kingfish back in there enough. Got away from the kingfish dogs. This whole piece right here is what made Turtle Buster. I'm going to tell you. And it didn't hurt to have them old family red nose running around in there too. And we're talking about the old family match dogs. The dogs that were being matched. You know what I'm saying? I would have took this line of dogs and Turtle Buster would have been going back into all this. And I'm taking this right here, taking it all back into everything that he was being bred to down here. To me, Kenny Gaines he did it when he bought Sandy up here, but he should have kept on bringing the kingfish down into the stick and extended it. Doubling up on him. I'm trying to find, let me get back to him. Yeah, that's Turtle Buster. You got the Yankee Boys Rocky Top and Turtle Buster Jr. All right? That's it. Let's see what made it work. See what I was telling y'all? That's the bottom. You should have stayed on that. I said take the kingfish and keep going into that bottom stuff. That's where he got his winners at. If he could have built off of that right there, we'd still be talking about Turtle Buster dogs.
Turtle Buster was supposed to be that, the kingfish, the yellow ones.
Because yes, he was. Turtle Buster could have been what Yellow John was to the Redboy dogs. Turtle Buster would have been the same way using that kingfish, the way everybody else who was successful using the kingfish stuff. See, he didn't breed the kingfish in his dogs like everybody else was doing. He's right up in Ohio where everybody else was. He started getting head knocked. His dogs weren't as good as they used to be. But he had some good dogs. But so did everybody who had that kingfish shit. Kingfish was the factor in Turtle Buster. Trust me when I tell y'all that. When you're talking about breeding dogs, and we still talking about great kennels. You know what I'm saying? Still talking about great kennels. Could Redboy really work with this stuff? Apache Jr., would he be a producer? I wouldn't think so. We all remember Ice Day. He was publicized a lot over there on Victor's Yard. Did he make a name? Yeah. We do some pretty decent dogs. You know, but nothing to write home about, right? And I know he got more puppies than this because he was definitely bred a lot. You know, a lot of dogs out there that's carrying that name, believe me, a couple of them dogs are coming right off of this dog here too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Some of them dogs carrying Mayday as a daddy. You see that? See where it worked at? But again, this will point out to you that we're still talking about the same lineup because we're going to still be dealing with Fitzwater Goldie and the Klaus shit. All up in this stuff. You know that's where it goes. You know that's where it goes. All this shit. They go to Eli. They go to Bolio. Carver and the Boomerang. Don't forget, Arts Missy and Boomerang were litter mates. You figure that out? You see the way they was making the crosses? Ronnie Boys was another smart one. Windy City was another smart one. They always doing it. Taking the old established stuff, bringing them back in there, bringing to the Eli stuff. I mean, they all are related. All of them had their share of killers in them. Pointing that out. Just point that out. Now we're moving up in the years, the lines. You can see where a lot of them fuzzed out. And why some of them fuzzed out and some of them were able to carry on. But I think we would have got some great dogs if we'd have got that out of Apache and Amber. You know what I'm saying? Breeding. Anybody got any questions, man?
I mean, big shout out to my man K Munder in the house. What up, fam? K Munder said, I would have took it to Redboy.
Well, let me help you with the Redboy part.
He also, K Munger also said, Redboy to Turtle Buster make ROMs.
Yeah, if they would have been, if they would have went that route, me personally, Turtle Buster would have been working better if he'd have stayed with the Kingfish top and kept walking that Kingfish with the way everybody else was working the Kingfish that was successful. See, Kingfish was a successful combination. Turtle Buster is just a fact of that. They just didn't build on. He took another way with his kingfish. You know what I'm saying? And produced a good line, but it wasn't a productive line, not a line of history. We have Turtle Buster dogs around, but not the Turtle Busters of yesterday. You know, we're still dealing with kingfish. We go dealing with kingfish. We did a show with kingfish and showed y'all my point. You know, I'd have been doing a whole bunch of Maurice Carver shit. Blind Billy, all over that shit. I'd have had a whole bunch of kingfish and then would have been able to take it to anything I choose to take it to. How about taking kingfish to Red Boy like that way? Damn, Turtle Buster. Double up on Turtle Buster, and I'll take Turtle Buster and throw him on a Red Boy dog. And I'm trying to capitalize on the factor. Factor was kingfish. That's the factor. Kingfish was the factor. Kingfish was producing match dogs. Very aggressive, very talented, hard-mouthed match dogs. You know, that's just facts. Do your homework. Dig in. We done a show on that. You know, you take the factors. You got to be able to accept the facts of what they are. If you can't see them, then you won't know how to use it. But if you can see it, it's this way you use it. If you don't know how, and you want to become your own cook, at least learn how to cook by watching somebody who can cook. Because maybe you can cook better than them if you pay attention to what they did to get where they are for you to even think about paying attention to them. Had to be something that got your attention. So while you're over there, learn how to cook as good as him, and then you may be able to cook better. You should have learned how to use that kingfish shit like everybody else was using it, because in the end, it all fizzled out because nobody could ever find a key factor to control it, to make it grow. Everybody kept adding everything else to the pie. But you find a lot of great dogs that got kingfish in their pedigree. You know what I'm saying? It's just understanding the lines, understanding the breedings, understanding that, you know, they just don't all have the eyeball in them. They all had a certain line of dogs that molded the greatness in these bulldogs of yesterday. They all had one thing in common. They were all related. Every single one of them. At least the top 5 producers. I'm talking about including Honey Bunch and Awesome Baby. You probably go in there and dig around, we'll find a lot more with that. You know what I'm saying? It's the key is you need to know what's back there in your dog's pedigree if you're trying to move forward. If you try to start from stage 1 and you're going to be the Maurice Carver and I'm going to do this my way and move forward, maybe you'll be talked about 20 years from now. Maybe you won't make it to the 30, 40, 50 years that these dogs that I'm talking about are. But maybe you can put a point in the game that you know, we'll be able to pull your stuff up one day and find things to say about your formula. But at least understand how to cook before you think you can cook. Because I figured out that that's how I was going to do it. And I was going to use what everybody else was using to win with, and it just so happened to be the yellow dogs. The Red Boy dogs. Jeep Red Boy dogs was working. Anytime, I don't need Jeep to have a good Red Boy Eli dog. You know what I'm saying? Pretty Mama was a Red Boy dog, as they say. But was she really? I bought her pedigree up before. Everybody would love to be like FLETCHER Chavis. I would love to be like FLETCHER Chavis. I'd have loved to be him. The dog right here was a 3-time winner, 3-time game loser. And that was what he was in the journal. That's him. Don't know the bottom half, but we definitely understand the top. We definitely understand the top. Mama was 3 times that dog. That's her backside. That's her bottom. That's what put the bulldog in the mama. You know what I'm saying? They all have something in common. They were all related. The only thing missing in these dogs here is Redboy. This is why when they put Redboy on top of it, why ain't this dog any different than Mama's no different than Brat? Go back far enough and you'll see it again. Plumber's alligator. Norman wasn't stupid. And I know the guy who had, I think, Kizzy. I had a picture of him. He actually sent me a picture of Kizzy. A guy down in Florida. There go Tomsy Spider being bred to Stubby Phil's buddy. She later on went on to be bred to Zebo. And that's the part that produced Grand Champion Ace. That's her bottom. Look how many times you see Zebo in there. So she wasn't just all Redboy. And there definitely was a dog fighting pedigree. I think Mama was a product of a dog that he made better than her father. Because she was definitely better than Whistler Jr. Not taking nothing away from him, but she was not going to lose at all. She had a lot of mouth. She was game. I think the key to her winning was she just liked to fight. The bulldog wants to fight, like to fight. She's going to do just enough to beat you, and you're never going to have her on her back. She's going to be there, even if it makes it look like you going there, you're looking pretty even with her. When she turn on the gas, she turn on the gas and show you couldn't do nothing with me from the giddy up. I was just playing with you. That's why she always looked better than Brat, and she always stole the trophy from Brat. Brat go in there and smash shit. Mama go in there and look like she's doing something, making the match look better than it really was. That's just Mama bullshitting. Y'all just wait till that hour mark. You'll see. But again, a good dog. Because she had all that in her. You put that Red Boy on top of that right there. That's what made her special. That's why it worked when we bred Putty Mama into the Mayday dogs. The Stone City Cross, Stone City Mayday, and this stuff right here. Yep. That's where Pharaoh, 10-4, and Roger Ramsey came off of. And they would have probably been great producers if they would have had that career. Probably would have been great winners if they would have if they hadn't got taken. But we knew Roger Ramsey could produce. That's for damn sure. Pharaoh was never bred, and I think 10-4 may have been bred, but I don't think he was ever bred either. Roger was the only one that I know that was ever really bred. And he produced a good line of dogs. They'll never get a chance to see them make their careers, but there definitely was something to wonder over. But this is breedings. Again, we're talking about Red Boy dogs. Red Boy works just like Eli works. Just like Fitzwater's Goldie. Just like Zeke. Just like the Stabber, Klaus stuff. Those were particular lines that you had to have in your shit. You could tell because it's there in all that great shit. You know what I'm saying? You can tell because it's there in all those great dogs. Pay close attention to that, breeders. You know, it's not always looking what's right there in front of you. You need to start taking steps back and see where you at. And see if you was able to do what was going on back there with what you're doing up here. And if you ain't doing it, have a way out by looking back there and seeing what worked to get you where you at. Maybe you need some more of that put back to your shit. Stop guessing. Figure it out. A little touch of this might bring you back. You know, but you can't be kennel blind when you do it. You got to be able to see your slack. You got to be able to see you falling off. Give a fuck how you breathe it. If you're breathing it great and it ain't coming great, don't breathe it. Because you ain't going to make it great if you ain't got it to that point. Got to stop and revamp. You know what I'm saying? It's all about the breeder. And that's why I really enjoyed watching Fletcher Chavis in his building of his yard. Because without Fletcher Chavis, it wouldn't be a David Tant. I can bet you that. But David Tant did a whole lot with that yellow shit. Yes, he did. Thank God for Fletcher Chavis. For having Jocko to even make the run. Don't forget. You know, I think things started falling off for Mr. Green in the Jocko line of dogs, you know, after that Snooty hitting the head, you know, Molly B. You know, that was a real big changing factor in those dogs because them dogs wasn't used to losing. When the losing started, they start coming in water. Why? Because they knew what kind of dogs to put on them rough-ass dogs. Some more rough-ass shit. You know what I'm saying? You bring the level to them and you challenge it. That's the way the game was. You wouldn't have never challenged it. I would have went into Molly B. They wasn't scared. They went. They lost. And they lost 2 that night. Daughter off of her got beat by a daughter off of Molly B, which was champion Red Lady. That's a good night. But this shows you that the dogs weren't as rough as Jocko. They were good dogs, but they weren't just as good as Jocko. But they produced good dogs. But you're going to notice when you go picking through those dogs, you're gonna see that little combination. I say you find in certain Boyle's dogs, you start seeing them L's. Like you find in those Eli dogs, you start seeing them L's. You know, we all lose. And there ain't nothing wrong with losing as long as you're producing dogs that can win. You're gonna lose. I got L's in my pedigree. The factor is, can you take and surpass those L's and still produce great dogs? Because in this match game, it's like football, basketball. You know what I'm saying? You don't know who's going to win that night. You can be confident as hell and turn around and lose. And the name of the game back then was what? Competition. Sooner or later, good as you are, you're going to meet the competition. Why? Because you're not afraid. You're going to try to find it, or it's going to find you. And that's what made the game the game. You had a line of dogs that could win, then you put many great dogmen in the game. Many guys became famous with great family of dogs. Trust me. We can pull out a lot of them, including Victor and Stone City, Supernet. Again, I'm going to say these names, keep saying these names, because when we go back and look into their line of dogs, and we're going to find ourselves going back into their past and finding more great lines of dogs. When we go back into their past, we're going to start finding how they got to that. And once you get back there, then come back up to the front. By the time you get back there and work your way back to the front, you should know how to breed that shit. You should be able to know who was the key factor in every single one of those crosses. That the person who made the breeding, the person with the female, what was their mindset when they went after that particular breeding? Got to put yourself in their shoes. It's like y'all getting on the bus following me all the way back to my time and getting to my world, and we start talking about the purpose of what made those breeders do what they did so we can do what we do. See the results of what they did. Because these match dogs is falling off into people's hands that's doing them. And we wouldn't even know nothing about them if it wasn't for the doers. Breeders wouldn't be shit without the doers. You know what I'm saying? All day. Any questions?
My man Game Breaker. What up, Game Breaker? He said, Twin, it's crazy. I was just doing my homework on an old show when you had Mama, or Hog Cast, etc. And Mama said all the dogs share common ancestral lineages. And it's true. If you go back enough, trace it, you'll find it.
You're right.
Remember, Mama was one of the mentors.
Mama was one of my mentors. That's why he was on the show. I mean, he sat right there and said he was proud of me. And believe me, that says a lot. For me, Ohio Cash and all of them, they know that their hands was on me for me to become successful. You know what I'm saying? They, you know, like I look at my proteges and I'm proud of them. Proud of their success, knowing that, you know, I had a hand on that. I had a whole lot of hands on me. A whole lot of hands, because I wanted to be like them, period. I wanted to go out and be able to have a competitive dog to be able to win and be like them, go like them, work like them, breed like them. You know, and I wanted it that bad that I did my homework. You know, a little wild, you know. I could be wild too, you know. But it was this, that was my mindset. my kennel partner, he was a genius right along with me. If it don't be for me riding on his coattail, I wouldn't have ever had the dog that I got. So I put a lot of that on that credit on my KP. Because my KP gave me a treasure chest to play in. He left me with a treasure chest to play in every time, and I played in it, and I was successful. You know, being in the right place at the right time or having the right friends, it makes a world of difference. Being able to enjoy it. I seen an interview with Geno Boys. You know, I did a show about the Geno Boys. You know, remember I told you, I said when them guys hit the scene, they hit the scene like boom, hit the game. You know what I mean? I seen it, you know, I heard the PBK's interview with him. You know, good damn interview. He had a lot, but you know, when you got the experience that I have, you know what I mean, I would have loved to talk to him. You know, I would have loved to talk to him. He'd be a good guest on my show because, see, I got the years in to know who they are. You know, I know exactly who they are. You know, he never really talked about Chanel. You know, and I always wondered, you know, what was the deal? Whatever happened to her? Let me see if I can look it up. Just wanted to make sure. That's her. Yeah, she was a bad one too. Like I said, Mayday had some badass females off of him. Very good dogs. You know, but he as you can see, so I always wonder what happened to Chanel. You know, and Geno Boy, you know, they did their thing. He had a lot of great dogs. This is one good dog that, she was, they was matching dogs. That's just flat out. And they was going, they didn't care about the bloodlines they was getting. But they was all bred great. All of them. It was a nice interview. You know, I would have had some good questions for him because he had been around the game. And then he knew a lot of guys that I knew. Yes, he did. But he was up in that Jersey, New York area where, and then he was down around the DMV with Millbuster and Hell on Earth. And, he was good friends with Tom. So, and I met him at Hell on Earth when I was spending the weekend up there with Millbuster. We went to a show over there at Hell on Earth that, everybody was there. Everybody was there. I think me, Tom, Millbuster, I think, I'm pretty sure one of these the same weekend us and Deep South was up in there. Deep South was there. It was just a good night. All the good dog men were there. And I remember the Geno Boys was, when they hit the scene running. One of the very few kennels that like size them up. When they hit the ground running. They went and got the right dogs, came out, got right in the competition and made a name. Same with Strictly Business. When they came out running. Good kennels, but if you go back and look at the dogs that they had, you'll see why. You'll see why. Any questions? Hey guys, well, let's see what it is. What it is. 11:30. You want to call in, Mike? Okay. Well, guys, I told you I was going to be talking about FLETCHER CHAVIS today. My man Vernon Starr said Jocko had a lot of champions without the Red Boy. Yeah. No, I mean, I wouldn't say he had a lot of champions without the Red Boy. Let's go look. We have 2 pages. Okay, now we know Miss Jocko. We'll start off with Miss Jocko. Okay. She was double bred, which works. Why it worked? Well, guess what? She wasn't no inbred Jocko dog. I mean, inbred Red Boy dog. Because if you look at the bottom, remember I always say, you start seeing the males, but look at that. This is what I'm looking at. The way they grabbed that Lonzo stuff. Remember, I showed you, remember what kept popping up and around all these dogs? The Lonzo stuff. Yeah, there's Red Boy right there. But it's that, this piece right here. I be telling y'all that. Pay attention to that because y'all going to see him a lot. You'll see him in a lot of great pedigrees. Okay, we know about Gladys. We know about Sandy. You see that right there, right? That's Jocko. And look at him. But let's take a closer look. Closer look, what do we see? All the great dogs got what in them? So we know that's one of his great champions that don't have Red Boy, but guess where it worked at? Right? Yeah. That's Red Boy. Let's keep going. Gladys. Heavy Jocko. You say a lot of Jocko, wouldn't you? Whole thing. That's inbred Jocko. But let's look at her offspring. What is she being bred to? Grand Champion Rodney. Remember that? Inbred Jocko, right? Triple bred Jocko. Red Boy. Major factors. Major factors. I'm just proving a point and going along with the conversation. That was Gladys. Look at the dogs. Deadlift. Rodney. Sandman. Deadlift. Old Timers Rumors. Bob. Still, what are they doing? All Red Boy. All of it. Anything that was worthy of anything, Jocko needed Red Boy. Period. Remember, we got 2 pages. Here's one. Red Boy. They were hubcap. That's a nice one. He lost his Ebo. Rose, Miss Jocko, Gypsies, all the names we seen. All the names we seen. So not everything inbred Jocko worked. There was a key factor, and I'm gonna always say that. You know, when it comes to Jocko. Jocko was a good cross, but Jocko needed Red Boy. I always said Jocko was not the major factor. He's a part of the faction, but he's not the major factor. Red Boy was the major factor. I just like what FLETCHER CHAVIS was doing with the Jocko dogs to set it up, because if it don't be for FLETCHER CHAVIS, David Tanton and went and took the idea and ran with it and made those great dogs, because that's exactly what they did. They knew what Jocko needed. They knew how to get good dogs out of Jocko. Keep putting that Red Boy shit on there. That's the facts. So who was that about that statement up?
Burning Star.
Burning Star. Burning Star. Good point to bring up. But what do you say now? You know what I'm saying?
My man Big C. What up, Big C? He said twin. Do you know anything about Miss Leaky stuff?
Miss Leaky dogs? Let me pull her up. Miss Leaky is the Undertaker dog. That's Mr. Gaston. Okay? Now, pay attention, because we still on the same conversation. We're still dealing with Red Boy. Don't forget Groucho. These are still like Zebo dogs here. I mean, Jocko dogs. You see that, right? Double bred. See it all in there. Apple, Groucho. You know, these are great dogs. Red Alert, Red Man, Red, and the more Jocko. See, that was the setup of what made her a great producer. Miss Leakey. Yeah, made her a great producer. Who's the key factor in there? Who's the key factor in there? Brother-sister breeding. Who you think the key factor is? That's what I'm talking about. We see heavy Jocko, but we cannot ignore the Red Boy. Red Boy works with Jocko. Producer. I am definitely on Daisy May because she produced Miss Leakey. You got to start where it started at. Grand Champion Buckus, register and married. Miss Leakey, register and married. Champion Game Thunder, Gamble's Thunder. O'Terry. A lot of these dogs are just repeats. But let me go and take a look over here at Daisy Duke. Her registered name is B's Champion Terry. That's the female that you keep seeing down there. Again, this Bronson right here, a good dog. But look what they did. They took the Red Boy Jocko stuff, right, and bred it into the Rascal stuff. What do you see in there? You see the Bolio, the Zebo, and the Eli. We know that works, especially when it works when you're taking it and adding a Red Boy and the Jocko. Looking at this dog, I would say if you looked at the combination, this would be the brat. This would be the brat's mother. This would be Stone City. This could be hardcore. This could be hell on earth. Remember, anytime we speak of these names, we can add termite, we can add all these dogs because they all are genetically related. They just showing you different ways it was working. Daisy May produced. She was a registered mare. We gotta find a pedigree with Miss Leakey on there, the right one. Buckets was a registered mare. Was it out of line here? No, it was set up because this is basically the same thing they produced. All you got is just a little tighter. You got Red Boy Jocko, basically. What is yellow? Red Boy Jocko. What is awesome, baby? Red Boy Jocko. Same thing that produced the Stone City dogs. You see Miss Leakey do the same thing. Same combination. Same setup. That's all it is. We've all done it. We've all done it. Mayday done it. Stone City done it. And like I was showing you with the mama, her mama, don't forget, that's Red Boy Jocko. You can breed Jeep stuff into it, right, which is like the Rascal and everything else. Her offspring. 357. Oh, Celine. Oh, Wrecking Crew. That's what I always remember her as. Champion Boy. Okay, there's Strictly Business. Okay, let me go down. There's Champion Boy again. Okay, well, let's look at Bodine with Champion Celine. Still yellow and Patrick. A lot of Patrick. Patrick Stater. Remember I told you all about that Stabber stuff, the Carver stuff. That's all this is. Still Red Boy Jocko in there. Remember, I was talking about how you would take the kingfish and use it a certain type of way. This is the type of way I'm talking about. The way you just take a certain dog and just make sure that you fill it up. Even when it comes down to this little bit of piece in here, it makes a difference. Especially when you see it work. Okay.
Big shout out to my man Johnny Rockers. He said, "Twin, did you get any winners when you bred her? Pretty Mama the Beetlejuice?"
Nope. I got bitches. That's where powder come from. Yeah. I got bitches. I had 2 bitches. Let's see. I'm gonna pull Pretty Mama Pedigree back up. This was one of them right here. That's the Beetlejuice breeding. Now you see his best dog I ever owned. Now this is the same dude that had that black and white Sox. You'll see they tried to breed her several times. There go black and white Sox right there. She never gave him a puppy. Me and him was good friends. His brother played for the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, we were pretty good friends. Yeah, we tried. He tried. He really tried. And it never took. He tried more than once. It never took. I got a picture in there somewhere of her. Of this little female here. Let me see. I don't know if I got it on the pedigree though. But she had a daughter named Powder. I gotta find Powder. Hold on. This is the female that we had. There she go. She had a little female. I don't see her on there. But I got a picture of her. But she had a little female, and these are all these. It was Bucky Boy, 10-4, Roger Ramjet, Pharaoh. And they had a Little May's sister. Damn, I forgot her name. I got her back, but she had died from us putting her down, and she caught babesia. But yeah, these are offsprings off of her and Beetlejuice. This is the daughter. You know, if they hadn't took the dog, she might have made all them.
God, that's why we was hot.
But look at the breeding. Look how we did it. Yeah, I went and put my Stone City Mayday stuff right in there with that Beetlejuice stuff, and it all lined up. I knew exactly what I was doing. Yep, he got taken in a raid Roger Randall got taken in a raid. 10-4 ended up north. I think he had a few puppies. He even had a couple winners. He was a good producer. Yeah, these were good dogs. You know? So yeah, it worked. It definitely worked. They couldn't get none out of a whitehead. But they got something off of her sister Powder. Didn't have no males. So yeah, it was some pretty good, the females, it was like, to me, both of them was cold bitches. Both of them was cold bitches. And Powder produced that fire. Maybe because she was bred to Buck Rogers. Maybe that was the reason why they were so fire. You know what I mean? Because there was a whole lot of bulldogs in there. Everything lined up. You got all the right Jeep. You got all the right buck. I mean, the combination of dogs is in this pedigree. Lines up great. Got a whole bunch of Zebo. A whole bunch of Redboy. A whole bunch of Eli. A whole bunch of little Tater. Just, I always say, actually look at the crosses and the breeding the way it is. I felt like I was doing some FLETCHER CHAVIS shit. I'm breeding going hard shit now. I'm able to put my shit together. You know what I'm saying? That's all. Hey, thanks for them comments and them questions. I like answering them.
My man, Mr. Derek Lockett. What up, Derek? He said, twin, what harm did a lot of people slept? You felt like a lot of people were sleeping on back in the day.
To me, Mayday. Grand Champion Mayday. I don't know whether it was the fact that they wasn't used to, the people, I don't think they was really used to what I would say, how would I put this? They wasn't expecting, Mexicans to become so famous, or the Latinos, and as a whole, I would say not Mexicans, the Latinos, Puerto Ricans, Victor, he from Ecuador, these dudes, the Spanish, Latinos, they had a foothold in this game now. Don't be what they're thinking they didn't. Shit. They at one point in time, they was in there. Victor's one of them. Stone City's another one. Hardcore's another one. These are Latinos. Keeping it real. This was the most slept on dog to me. Because there was a lot more haters out there. They would love to see a Mayday dog lose because they just really never got a grip on him. They really didn't. A lot of people just didn't get a grip on this dog. It was too late by the time the outer public got a hold of it, because by then it's been tarnished, because now Victor's not matching dogs no more. He's turned into a breeder. But for those who ain't never seen him, you don't know what you're talking about. Everybody want him to be less than what he was. Y'all can hang it up, because I seen him. If you ain't never seen him, you can't talk about him. Not to me. You'll be a fool to have a conversation to me about Mayday, telling me what Mayday you think Mayday was, and this and that, and you ain't never seen him. And yet you're going to try to tell me, and I done seen him twice.
He used to say that about his sons when everybody wasn't getting on with them. Even our own homeboys, fellas, y'all don't want to do this.
Right. Shit. Barracuda and Twisted had to go into my own people to find out that, hey, y'all don't believe what I'm telling you. And my KP was on the other side of the wall, on the other side of the box with them. Me and you together and seen this, you just been gone. I had a chance to stand around. I know what they come with y'all with. Y'all bring the best shit y'all got. I don't want y'all sleeping on it. They bought that Beetlejuice male. And David Tant sent one of them yellow dogs off his yard to go in the Barracuda. And again, can I say shit about those Mayday dogs to me when I done seen the great ones go? No. Y'all was sleeping on this dog. Y'all was definitely sleeping on that dog right there. That dog was just as great as Yellow and Yellow John. That dog has such an impact. He carries Yellow and Buck in him. He was guaranteed to do what Buck and Yellow did. Guaranteed to do it on a bigger level because he got two of the greatest goddamn backgrounds in his pedigree. And believe me, when you would run into them real ones, you see all the champions. You see all the champions. Well, we didn't damn near name 16. We didn't ran 16 off the top of our heads. That we do know. You can't sleep on a dog like that. Yellow Buck would have been just as famous as Mayday. Believe me. Because they had the same chemistry. Remember, they took Yellow Buck, Nico, and Nico Jr. and made all three of those dogs register merits. Nico was a registered merit. Nico Jr. was a registered merit. And I know Yellow Buck got to be a POR because shit, he got 2 grand champions out there. So there's, the line itself, the makeup of the dogs themselves speaks a lot. I can do the same thing with Yellow Buck and be looking like we're looking at the same pedigree, just swapped around. But a lot of people slept on Mayday. Before you know it, Mayday was famous just off his sons and daughters because he was out there kicking everybody's ass. Believe me. You can talk shit about Mayday dogs, but guess what? I can guarantee you the dogs that we named, you ain't beat none of them. And that goes for everybody that lost to a Mayday dog. There's been a lot more to lose to us, especially when you got Luke Kane kicking down there with that grand champion run that he got with Miss Luca. Miss Luca is a Stone City Mayday dog. And one to speak of in history because she has a generation of nothing but grand champions, including herself, all the way back to Yellow John. Y'all sleeping on that dog right there. Because he has the combination of the 2 best dogs outside of Jeep back in that time. 2 of the best, Yellow and Buck. He ain't got Buck, but he got the Buck line. You see Little Tater right there. Line of dogs. You see Little Tater twice there. So I can say Buck, understanding I'm talking about Little Tater there and Little Tater there. The very shit that created Buck. So the production was going to be there. And Victor got an opportunity to get it. And he didn't do no more than what Yellow did. Yellow had litter mates too that was champions, didn't he? So they Mayday. Follow the line. That's an indicator right there. Indicator. You know, he surpassed his father in his what would we say? The line was a buck. Because he took them two lines and really did the do with it. You know, when it becomes commercial, then it gets watered down. And when it start getting watered down, now you got a bunch of dogs out there that's got a lot of no mouth, stupid ability, no ability, just game and dumb. But yeah, he produced. He produced and he could pass his production line right down the line. He has a lot of producers in all these 833 offsprings here. You know, I can name major producers. Luke Kane and Barracuda. I can give it to Brat in her line because she did her thing. Her and her brother. But when it comes to destroyers, I think Mayday had some badass females. I liked it Mayday's females. I did. I liked it Mayday's females. Chanel, Annabelle, Juliet, all those dogs was some badass dogs. May, Brat. Right off of Mayday, them females was destroyers. You know, when you have those type of dogs coming off a dog that can produce good females. Stone City could produce good females. Same chemistry. And I'm talking about two different dogs. It was able to get out there and generate history. You know, when you speak of Stone City, we can say Nico Jr., all these dogs produce great dogs off of them, every one of them. This combination is a combination that works. You can't take nothing out of that. And you're going to have your Eli in there. You're going to have your Carver stuff in there. You see it? The same shit. You know you're going to have your Zebo. There's your Jocko. What's the major factors in these dogs? I'm going to say again. This stuff here and this stuff here. Going to be major products in a lot of those dogs, from Undertaker, Untouchables, Stone City, Southern Kennels, Super Kennels, Strictly Business. The lineup, the way they work these lines and the way they made those breedings, they produce match dogs. And that's what we're talking about. The history making of what made these dogs great. You know what I'm saying? No, just point it out. That, to me, that's the one. Because to me, he still don't get the credit as due. You know, maybe because he sits up there on a pedestal really by himself, because, you know, I can put all those dogs up there with him, and the only one that I think that was just as good as him would have been Grand Champion Buck. I don't think Jeep was good as him. I don't think Yellow was good as him. You know what I'm saying? But I had to give it to Buck. I think Buck was good as him.
I'm going to give a big shout out to my man Game Breaker. He said, man, long live Mr. James Pope. It's crazy work. The way Twin break down them peds, it's like you get to see inside the minds of the camps, breeders, and knew and had a very high percent of all the dogs we love.
Because that was what one thing that James Pope got me to understanding was percentages of your litters that you're going to be feeding. Always look at the percentage. What is the percentage? What chance do we have? You know? Don't like to guess. We like to make. Like you said, before you start thinking you a top shelf, you better learn from a top shelf first.
Big shout out to my man Big C. He said, would the Kingfish way be similar to how Gaston used the Cotton's bullet stuff?
Yes. See, Mr. Gaston was on a tippy toe move. Let me show you some. Let me get back to them dogs. See, when you got Tom Ratliff, he got Daisy May, right? Now, the smarter thing Tom did was he was doing what he saw everybody else doing. He knew he needed to take his yellow Jocko stuff. His yellow John Jocko stuff is just like talking about yellow. He's seen this work. He's seen it work. This bitch right here. Where all her winners coming from? Buck stuff. Not this one. This is the Eli cross. But you see Buck there. See the Bolio. See these crosses right here. You know, that's why I liked it because, you know, honestly, when you put yellow in there, remember you got yellow and Rascal and Jeep in there in the hardcore dogs. Hardcore built their yard off of yellow and the Rascal Jeep dogs, basically. No, and it really did not hurt to have Zebo running around in this shit. To me, the Zebo was a factor in all this up here. If I was to go say, well, what was the major factor in that cross down there, Twin? Well, I'm going to tell you, I think the cross was. The cross, to me, wasn't Rascal. No. To me, I think it was this bottom side. Crossing with the Patrick cross. Because this dog right here was bad. This dog right here was bad. This dog right here was bad. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you where it was at. Down here where the shit that was working. Candy, don't forget. What you see there?
Kingfish.
Okay, pay attention. Pay attention. Give me some Kingfish crossed with some Zebo. I'm going to show you some Bulldogs. And that whole bottom side was the major factor. Because it showed you how it worked from generation to generation. And what did he produce? Some good dogs. Terry and Thunder. Daisy Duke. Hey, that's not bad. When one dog can down there make a female register married. You know what I'm saying? The numbers get bigger when you start adding the registered mares and more champions to that. And then on top of that, you got production. You got production. She was able to throw offspring that could produce. Both Buckets and Miss Leakey produced. Why? Because of him. All he did is made it better. They already had it in them.
So they should have kept with that kingfish move.
The kingfish move in a lot of things, y'all just don't know. The kingfish moves like Champion Candy and them dogs right there. I'm trying to tell y'all. When you was using the kingfish dogs, that they had to use the kingfish dogs like the guys of the old. And there wasn't but a few of them that knew the goddamn trick. And Adams and them was one of them. You know, you gonna find kingfish in a lot of badass dogs.
We had them a lot up north, though.
Yeah, there was a lot of them kingfish dogs moving around up north. There was definitely a lot of them moving around up north. Those was key factors, man, that you got to take in account. You know, if anybody had the opportunity to be the grand champion buck, you would have been a fool not to. We back? We're gonna wait till we show back up. We ain't up yet. We're gonna wait till we get back up. We still twirling. I know by the time you get done twirling and I'm back on the screen, y'all gonna hear me saying this for a little bit. Like that's how long it took y'all to get back. Okay, hold on. Just hold on. Hold on. I need to see you before I be you. Okay, Mike. It'll take a long time for her to come back, ain't she? Okay, there we go. It's gonna start moving. Okay, I'm back, y'all. Yeah, that's me. Yes, sir. Good to see y'all back at there. Yeah, see all eyes on me. Okay, Mike. Where we at, man?
Okay, we back.
Now I don't know how much y'all remember or what you missed, but
I'm gonna read that antro again. I was discussing antro. He said, I don't know if y'all caught it, not or nothing, but the first battery of razor edge Daisy May dogs were super athletic. If you look back in them old staff lines, the Henry dogs to the love was the base, so it made the great catalyst.
well, the razor edge dogs were really more show dogs, my friend, than they were match dogs. Just want to bring your attention. You know, the razor edge dogs had the staff in them, but they were show staff. They were show dogs at the bottom. When Daisy May was bred to bull, you know, then they, you know, that one cross. And then they took that pup and started breeding to them UKC staff show dogs. So a lot of those dogs were UKC show dogs. They weren't match dogs, you know. And they really didn't really, you know, and it wasn't like they did this late. Keep in mind, when Gaston and Untouchables and Ratliff and them was doing these dogs, believe me, those other dogs, you know, them UKC dogs and them staff dogs was nothing compared to those dogs that they were producing. Nothing. Not even on the same level. So you're right to a point, but no, they didn't really, those were a lot of show dogs. Those staff dogs were in, there were show dogs bred into the line, but a lot of those dogs weren't match dogs. A lot of those dogs were show dogs. It was one of them. You know, it was a good line. They took that dog there. You see him. Blue Diamond, they were taking them and breeding them into show dogs. Let me get one. Let's see, I think Ruckus was one. It was doing a lot of that. Coco was another one. It was a pretty good one. She was a pretty good one. Still, show dogs. You see where I'm at now, right, homie? Okay? I just wanted to bring that to your attention, you know, not to correct you, but just to let you know. There was one more there. Yes, and they had staff. Definitely had a lot of staff in them. But they were so built, so pretty built dogs. They were very built, pretty dogs. But not even they could reproduce what it took for these dogs here to move up here to do that. You know, they didn't really have the same success by doing that. You know, when you see this stuff on Pez Online, don't let this part fool you. But I knew what you was talking about when you said it. I just wanted to take you there and show you. You know, when I said they were show dogs, I just wanted to show you that I knew what I was talking about. Okay? Anything else? Okay, y'all, I'm waiting on Mike. You know, y'all can get your questions in. Because you know, when I start kicking back, sitting back, you know what time it is.
Anthro said Razor Edge was obviously bullies. All right, Anthro.
Anthro, I ain't mean to put it out there like that, man. No, we ain't gonna call them bullies now. We ain't gonna call them bullies. Not yet. Not yet. They wasn't really bullies, but they gave them an ideal. If you want to know the truth, yeah, that was gave them Razor Edge started all that shit, the XLs and all that bullshit. Yeah, they did. You know, the ideal of taking match dogs like that, man, breeding them into our line of dogs, it create that. So that is correct. But yeah, fellas, while Mike's scanning the thing, I want to seem like I'm busy over here keeping y'all occupied while he's looking over the chat room. I really do appreciate the questions today, y'all, and to look at it the way we see it, you know, and the connection. You know, I hope, you know, there was some gems in there for some people. You know what I mean? Especially those who are trying to, you know, be an impact into history. You know? Okay. Okay, I'm ready. I just wanted to finish out tonight. I just picked up my dog of the night. You know?
See, when we talk about Earl Tudor, fellas, now y'all know we always talk about Earl because, you know, you can't get around old man Earl Tudor. The thing is, y'all got to go back when we talk about Tudor and look at the history. There's so many other people. Tudor didn't do all this by himself, y'all.
No, he didn't.
Keep that in mind.
It took the breeders to be like making a factor move with their dogs to Earl Tudor. Remember, it's the mind of the breeder, the mindset of the breeder. The mindset of the breeder is focused on Earl Tudor's dogs. That's where we're going to find him. Remember, Earl Tudor was a bad producer, his damn self. If you pay attention to how he was using Diabo and Diabo's brother in the Diabo line itself. Remember, without those crosses and those breedings in Maurice Carver, you know what I'm saying? They the ones set the standard, the game actually, they took it from here to here. And then you start adding Floyd to that saga and start coming up this way, you're going to see a line of dogs that changed. Because they were still dogman breeding dogs that were matching dogs. Just keep that thought in mind. Anybody that's producing to keep their stock running, we talk about. Did you notice that? Everyone else. Floyd did it. Earl did it. Maurice did it. They all had their hands in producing stock. Stone City, Hardcore, Eminem, Mau Mau, Loctite. There's so many other great kennels that I can say that to because they all had great dogs on their yard. What happens when you have great dogs on your yard? People with the breeding aspect of thinking are going to pick up the phone, do whatever it takes to locate the dog that they choose to breed to. And it usually be those great dogs. This is how we're able to move from generation to generation, thanks to those breeders. You know, didn't everybody come out lucky, but there was enough to come out lucky to make those dogs that they bred to famous. Don't forget that. Them dogs didn't do it on their own. It took a mindset to get those dogs up there to breed to them to make them great. Mr. Hollandworth figured, I got to breed to Yellow. Got Yellow on his deathbed. He still got him a litter. Best move he ever made with his dogs. Best move.
All right, gentlemen. Again, appreciate everybody for showing up. You know, sometimes when things just blink out like that, I don't know why they just blink out, but they just. I thought I was doing good. I upgraded my internet to higher speed. Not that it was ever a problem because it was offered. But it's time for me to get another computer. No, I need another computer for this the show alone. It's doing too much. I think I'm asking too much of it. So, but thanks for hanging around and hanging out with us, though. Hey, man, I know we started this conversation talking about old man FLETCHER CHAVIS. You know, I always told y'all Mo just had this thing about Fletcher. But in the same token, though, you got to put Mr. Chavis in there with the Floyd Boudreaux and the David Tants and the Crenshaws and the Tudors, because they had their own little thing, and what they did with that own little thing, they made it work to create something even bigger. Same thing with Stone City, same thing with Victor, Mr. Hollandworth, same thing with Hardcore, Mau Mau, Eminem. Them guys got lines of their own, and they made shit to create it working stock. And then enough of it that where you couldn't help but talk about it, because you somebody got to beat it. Can anybody create something to beat this shit? That was the key. If it wasn't worthy of talking about, we wouldn't be talking about it. And when we talk about all these great guys, you know, we're trying to get in their head, because we already know the papers don't mean shit. I'm pretty sure the papers didn't mean shit to them back then either. Only reason we use the papers now because history has shown us that if we go back and see what created what we're talking about now in the future, you can get a better understanding of what was actually going on that got us to the point that we're talking about it. See, that's the important part of our conversations, to get you guys to understand didn't have nothing to do with papers. Really. And if you really look at the people who we generally be talking about, you'll see their names on a whole lot of these dogs. They're taking their dogs and they're going to Floyd's dogs. Tudor's taking his dogs and hooking up with Klaus. And I mean, they're just doing all types of shit. But once you got it and it's yours, It's what you gonna do with it. Do you run and grab the papers? How do you know? I mean, the papers ain't never made the dog. The dog always made the paper. So you guys got to really get a grip on them traits and why these men did what they were doing, and take the paper out of the equation. I mean, if you're selling puppies and doing all that, yeah, okay, I'll understand what you're doing. But in our case, we never bred based on papers, fellas. I don't think Mo ever pulled up a pedigree that he felt like he seen the papers and went and bred to it. He either seen the dog or he seen something off the dog that made him and KP be like, grab them papers and see what it's bred like and see if we can work with any of our shit. Because they've had plenty fallouts and 2-day arguments trying to.
You bred a rock and stone.
I mean, I've seen them go through some crazy things, you know what I mean, and then go through the full process. I mean, they did breed the rock and Stonewall. So imagine some of these breedings that didn't work out for us. You know, back then it really didn't mean shit. You just moved on to the next thing. But then when you look back on it after, you know, based on history, you'd be like, damn, just think if they had gave us some puppies. Or what if we had really got them that litter off Apache and still got the Mayday breeding in and had all that shit on the yard. I mean, boy, oh boy. We might have had 130 dogs on in the yard because it wasn't getting rid of nothing. But that's the way we was rolling there. But keep that in mind, fellas, because there's always a reason why these men were doing what they were doing, and I don't think they were doing it for the same reasons that we might be doing it today. A lot of these guys that you see that we're talking about and you see their names a lot of times, they were doing dogs. And the results we can only talk about because at least they do have results. If they didn't have no results, we wouldn't be talking about it, right? Let's see where I'm coming from. But appreciate everybody for showing up for this Talk Shit Tuesday. Big shout out to everybody out there in the Shark Tank, even my newcomers. For all the ones that's new, thanks again for hitting that like button and hitting that subscribe button, because we done went over to 3,200. Now we're looking to do better. I just want to thank everybody who helped us out and made it to this point. And for all my newcomers, welcome to the Shark Tank. For the ones that I hope I didn't miss nobody. You got your hardware, and feel free, because you notice everybody in that Shark Tank, they're all blue. They all got their hardware, which means your comments, your opinion matters just as much as the next man's. Because over here, this the Shark Tank. They don't hold no punches. You can say what you choose to say, just be respectable. And our Shark Tank has done very well, and I've always said that Shark Tank is very knowledgeable. So if you're watching the video, sometimes it does pay, to actually pay attention to what's going on in the chat. Because I can't get to every comment or every statement. But I try to, fellas. So if I miss some of the questions along the way, remember, that's how I be missing the screen, be freezing me because I'm paying attention to something else. But bear with me. But I try to get everybody's questions or any comment that sparks my, tingle my little fancy. I bring it up.
You gotta get the email back up, because the guys, y'all can send a lot of y'all questions and comments and things that y'all want to hear on the show. Just email.
If you don't have it in the email, just put it in the comment section of the videos or comment on something, because I try to reply to all comments. And yeah, I'm gonna get the ticker back up to run across the bottom, but I'm trying to keep the show going and also rebuild everything that we've done up to this point. So bear with me. But again, if I have to, I will put the information back up by Friday. I didn't know if you had that problem or not because I noticed you didn't notice it. But yeah, I'm finna break this down. But again, like I said, big shout out to all my people out there in the Shark Tank. And as we close out tonight, y'all know this is for one of the greats. This is FLETCHER CHAVIS. And I think
breeder and fighter.
Breeder and fighter. I think he is a cornerstone of our back end shit. You know, I meant to ask you, man, is it possible that we could have carried that back end trait that far into our line? Because you know damn well that ain't come off nothing yellow. Nothing red boy. Ain't nothing red boy about that shit.
I always said it was yellow. It was a combination of yellow and Angus. I didn't think it was.
But you don't want to give Jocko that credit.
Well, Jocko was there. He was a back end dog.
He was a great back end dog.
Yeah, but when he's not throwing it, that's for damn sure.
Well, I don't know.
Well, he wasn't throwing it, he didn't throw it with yellow. He didn't throw it with none of these other dogs.
Well, okay, all right. I'm just asking.
But Redboy has his share of back end dogs too. Amber was a stifle dog.
Yeah.
Okay. You breed her to Grand Champion Ace, who's a stifle dog.
We're gonna get more stifle dogs.
You got too many genetics in there. You got a lot of genetics in there. While y'all sleeping on Zebo, don't let Zebo beat you up because he'll go on your ass in here. Okay? That was another thing. You know, the good thing about it is you got a genetic that's shared through Jocko, Redboy, you know what I'm saying? And Angus. You know, I ain't gonna say G, I'm gonna say Angus. That genetic stifle shit, for some odd reason, you know, what came off of Red Ace stayed in our line of dogs. Now, where it became so prominent at, I think it was the combination. You got 3 damn dogs in there, you know, that were known to go into the ass end. So that's genetics being carried through. Maybe they just come together. You know, they men because, you know, a lot of going hard dogs were stifle dogs.
Not just on our yard and other people's hands. They left the yard and got on the other people's hands and they were still doing the same thing.
We ain't talking about this crazy stifle type dog. We talking about dogs that know how to bite their way back there. They know where they want to be. You know, some dogs get the stifle and they'll grab it, but that's not where they want to be. Stifle dog is the dog that when he gets back there, that's where they at, that's where they want to be, that's where they stay. And they will go back and forth to each one of them stifles. The game plan is to maintain their position to be in there chewing up both of them stifles. Those are what I call stifle dogs.
Yeah.
So Brad had no problem getting back there, just like her mama. She bit her way back there. Once she got back there, she knew exactly what to do, like her mama. I'm pretty sure if they paid attention to Kunta, Little Mayday, I'm pretty sure they seen him go back there because Little Mayday, he would bite his way wherever he wanted to go. He bit his way there. Like I said, we seen him on Charlie and knew he was going to be bad. And Charlie was a bad dog. Again, Charlie was the dog that was going into Tyrone. And that just show you what kind of dog Little Mayday was at 14 months old.
Yeah. They picked Charlie up that day.
Got him out of there. Little Mayday was showing out as a young dog. So, you know, it's traits. You know, guys, we always talking about traits. You know what I'm saying? And when you see a trait that you know came from a line that you're working with, just make sure it's the type of trait that was successful, like the dogs, you know, that brought you there. Like, you know, we probably made Super Nat proud of his Grand Champion Ace dog. Because he know Ace is going to go down in history when it comes to going hard kennels.
Yeah.
His name got a chance to follow along with a great dog, Mayday in him. He had his share of great dogs. But one dog that he probably going to always cherishes his ace, Grand Champion Ace. And Ace was definitely a very important part. You know, that he rides right along with Mayday when it comes to going hard dogs.
Yeah, that is true.
Because there's some out there that was just like Grand Champion Ace, who was like Red Ace, who didn't make the mistake.
All right, y'all, for my man, Mr. Fletcher Chavis, the legendary Fletcher Chavis, because tonight is his night.
Tonight is his night.
We Jocko the fuck out. So give me some damn thumbs up, thumbs up.
Red, Yellow John, Red Boy.
Thumbs up, thumbs up.
Red Boy, Yellow John.
Thumbs up, thumbs up. Hold on.
Grand Champion Yellow. Yellow John and Jocko.
Muscles. 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 All right, y'all. Now, give the man his damn roses. Roses. We need damn roses.
Fletcher Chavis.
For Fletcher Chavis tonight. Show some love. Big shout out to everybody who showed up. Big shout out to my man, R.I.P. Mr. Fletcher Chavis, one of the legendary dog men that we don't give enough credit to. But guess what? After the night show, if you really, really want to really pay attention to what we were saying, go do your own research, but then have the video like, close by so you can get a clear understanding of what you're going to go look for. Because the whole key to everything we've done to tell y'all, this shit has already been done.
It's the formula.
It's the formula. Long before the whole Blondie, Mayday, all that, them two arguing with each other and all that little back and forth that was going on. If you really played close, people was already doing this shit before they were. Actually, Mo knew that too. That's why he was like, man, I don't give a damn, man. They my dogs. I'm doing this shit because look at this shit. And then when they finally get around to saying, oh, damn, twin, then they hook up. But all they did was just move forward what had already been done. And that's just, to be a part of that history and to know that story and be a part of that whole story, but then go back and say, I don't know what they were all acting funny about because it had already been done. If it worked back then, why wouldn't it work now? And you see how many times they did it after the fact? Me, I think if you really want to see what a good damn bulldog looked like, do what they did in the past. I'm telling you, outside of, they was doing it for a different type of purpose. But, purpose changed, which means the breeding program gonna change. So that's for y'all to figure out. For us, we're gonna stay back here and say, hey, fellas, pay attention to what they was doing because you're gonna always see consistency. And like Mo said in the beginning, if you look at everything at the top of the ROM list, they all gonna be related in some type of way. And we know what the ROM means. Register of merit. That means they're able to produce winning bloodlines. And it is true. So we done took care of the Jocko, we did the Yellow, we did the Mayday, we did the Billy Boy Bob, we did the Buck,
we did the Eli,
we did the Eli's, Jeeps, the Baileys. You know what I mean? We've kind of tried to cover everything simply because you notice that for some odd reason, we keep running across the same names, the Fitzwaters, Goldies, the Daisy Mays, the Zeeks, the Stabbers. We coming across all these names, the Dybos, the Centipedes, the Klauses, the Morgans, the Mahoneys, the Mayfields. Come on, fellas. This is what this is all about. Educational, historical use for the purpose of entertaining. But the knowledge is there.
Just showing you how they got there.
Just showing you how they got there. We didn't create this. Remember, we copied off somebody else. I'm pretty sure they was copying off of somebody else because it all shit looked too much alike. We kind of, everybody just wasn't just throwing shit together. So, yeah, they always tell you they ain't gonna try to tell you they sauce. Well, you know, pretty much if we wasn't selling dogs, y'all wouldn't never knew our sauce. But the fact is, when you're winning, people gonna want to know what they're using. And that was just a part of the game. So, at this point in time, y'all, appreciate everybody for showing up and showing out. But one damn thing, back in our time, you know, I could have read some stories and you would have understood that them boys were dead ass serious. And they always believe that, you know, in order to get down, you got to be able to get down. One damn thing, before they was backing that ass up, they was always making sure that them dogs, always. I mean, I don't give a damn. Even if you're on 2 legs, they better always scratch the wind.
Every time, baby.
Every time, man.
That's what makes history.
That's what made history.
Dog of the night, y'all. Dog of the night. We starting off with dog of the night. I had to go and grab a paper. Yes, sir. There's my dog of the night, y'all. Combination of what we've been talking about. Only dog in the history of the dog game. Made history. Yeah, she made history. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 grand champions. And if you notice, 1, 2, 3, 4, and when we go down there to Redboy, there's 5 registered merits. Back to back to back to back to back. History making. History making dogs. There's your Jeep. There's your Bolio. There's your Redboy. Your Eli. Your Jocko. And a great one. Dog of the night, fellas. I'm going to ride out on that one right there. Steady the line. Steady the breeding. That's a Latino cross. That's a Latino job right there. All 3. From Victor to Hardcore to Stone City. Shout out. Yes, sir. We'll see you